welcome to this month's Q&A on Keeper. We're going to be doing a deep dive on tax clients. We're going to talk about the new suite and then also some workarounds if you're not using that tax suite. A quick intro about us if you have not joined us before, you're not familiar with us. Eric and I started Hughes and Strong Consulting because we both really get nerdy about systems and we get really excited about helping bookkeepers get a business set up with strong foundations and have things in place to help it run pretty smoothly. So we are here to help you along your journey. One of our biggest messages is that we don't believe that there's one right way to do things. There's always going to be a different way that's unique for everyone. So we're here to help you figure out what that direction looks like for you and support you in your journey. One of our other big messages is we share a lot of ideas. We also share our demo account within Keeper, which is a huge playground filled with possibilities. And so we really want to be careful about not putting shoulds on ourselves. So don't put extra pressure on yourself. All of this is for inspiration only. These are ideas, things that you could do. We are never saying that you should do things. So take the inspiration, take what sparks things for you and try them out in your own Keeper.
Exactly. And today, Jody mentioned that we're kind of focusing on how to organize tax clients inside of Keeper so that it can all be in one system or at least show the possibilities on this side. So we'll talk through a really high level overview of what's in this new tax suite, what features come with it, so you can get kind of a tangible look of what's behind the curtain if you haven't been able to dive into it or you're curious. We'll also talk about how to get some of those similar or, integrate tax clients into Keeper if you don't have that tax suite. Like, what else can we do? What have we seen in the community? And then both of those sides are going to be pretty high level overviews today. Past that, we'll let you guide us down into the nitty gritty if we want to go deeper into a specific piece that we talk about on the tax side, or if there's other features or questions or workflow questions that you have within kind of Keeper and your processes after we get done with this deep dive. So anything is fair game, especially as we start winding up that deep dive. But I want to be the first to say, like, do not let us go too fast. This is the call where you have all the grace and space to pop something in the chat and be like, wait, you just threw a lot of words. What does any of that mean? Or what is this feature? Can you tell me more about it? Or hey, where do you set this up? Anything is fair game on this call. So we want to make sure you get off with something hopefully positive or inspirational and not more overwhelm. So feel free to ask questions as we're going along. We'll make sure that all the questions get answered by the time we wrap up today. So that's kind of our goal here on this call and how we'll structure this call today.
All right, so let's dive in. What is the tax suite? The tax suite is a separate space that allows you to have tax-specific workflows. So you're able to have bookkeeping only with just the bookkeeping close. You could have a tax only client with just the tax return space, or you could have one client that has both pages. So that makes it really nice to be able to keep everything in one area.
We'll walk through each of these features in depth, but some of the most notable on here, again, think about this as being able to keep the same client, but create a different page for our bookkeeping or accounting side and then our tax side. So this will come with its own tasks, its own sections, its own due dates. And then just like we can on the bookkeeping side, we'll be able to do roles and statuses and reports that pull over from QBO. So there is quite a lot integrated. We want to go ahead and give you kind of the visual behind. So we'll walk through each of these, show you what it looks like. So let's go ahead and start with the tax returns and the workflow sections.
And so at the top, if you have the tax suite, you will see this little button up here next to the close, that's how you toggle between the tax page and the bookkeeping close, the monthly close page. So when you have this page open, you're going to see its own unique page. You're not going to see all the bookkeeping sections and all that. You will see the tax specific sections on these, and these are also customizable as well.
So just like on the bookkeeping side of things, we can have our own templates. So Keeper has the default task template that you can drop in when you're onboarding a new client or kind of starting up this tax side. So that'll have all kind of the default tasks. We can also duplicate and adjust this to our little heart's content. So if we want to add more SOPs or checklists or have different instructions or break the tasks down a little bit more in depth, we're absolutely can do that just like we can on the bookkeeping side.
And as Erica mentioned earlier, with this new space, you can have your own it has its own due dates. You can have multiple tax years open. So if you have tax returns for multiple years, you can have all of those created. And then each one of them can have their own due date here. You can also set the roles for who is in charge of those specific things. So you got your tax preparer, reviewer, manager, all of that is available in your settings as well to turn those on if you wish. Again, that's going to be separate from what's on the close page. So it gives you a little bit more versatility there.
Yep, exactly. And want to provide a quick clarification. So when we're talking about creating different years, it'll work very similar to your closes. So you know how with a bookkeeping close, those closing sections, you set them once, and then you have the same group open for the next year because your process is going to be the same, right? So we can kind of flip between years, check them off as we're going, but each one is separate, same kind of concept. So really think about this as a parallel to those closing sections because they work very, very, very similarly.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorite pieces of this
Yep.
actually. So I will probably say that one more time because I have a couple of really high contenders here, but the statuses are really cool. So similar to the bookkeeping close, we can have our own internal status to show the progress of this project through. These will show on the client list, just like our bookkeeping closes, those close statuses will. We can also have them notify either a role or a specific person as they move along so that our team can keep visibility on, oh, it's my turn to hop in. Or as an owner, I can keep an eye on where everything's moving for each client. So that's pretty similar, really similar parallel there. We can add colors, we can do all the little things that we need to. But we can also map these statuses to show an external status, kind of like Domino's pizza tracker style, inside of our client portal so that our clients on the tax side know where we're at. So these are all, both sides of this are absolutely customizable however you would like. Add your own style and tone to it, right? You can play with this as much or as little. And then depending on your internal status, you can map them to, okay, when I am waiting on client, I want it to show this status in my client portal side. Or, okay, these in progress and ready for review, it's the same to the client. It's still internal. So I want those to stay the same. So lots of flexibility here so that you're not having to go in and set both statuses. You set one and the other reflects accordingly. So really, really cool there. Honestly, I kind of want this on the bookkeeping side too.
Yes.
But it's a really cool innovation on that tax side.
And there is a feature request out there already for that. So we'll
Cool.
include that in our notes as well, because I know that a lot of people want this very similar feature available on that close side. All right, and with your tax pages here, you have your profit and loss, you have your balance sheet, all of that pulling in from the accounting software, just like it does on the close page. In addition to that, you also get your trial balance. So you can see all of your accounts and those balances at a glance there as you're working through.
Yep. So just like on the bookkeeping close side, these pull over information from QBO if it's a connected client. You don't have to have you can have the tax side turned on if you don't have that client connected, right? You can still have all the tasks to kind of track your progress. But if you do have this client connected to QBO, then all of this will pull over. You can easily change things and push them to QBO or comment between your team like we normally can on any reports.
Right. And we did have a question in the chat about what tax software this is pulling from. This is pulling from your accounting software, so your QBO or Zero. And just like with the bookkeeping close, you can drill down to the transaction level. Here you can expand to payee levels. You can get all the way down and dig deep into those if you need to.
So by default, this comes with a new saved view that will filter down to just the clients that you have that tax return side turned on for. So this is very similar to the default client list that we're all used to, just only showing tax clients. So really cool here, and that's automatically pulled in or set up by default. Again, this is one that you can adjust or change as you would like to, just like we can with the other default. But it is nice that we have a new default that will only show those tax clients so we can track that progress when we're in tax mode and then shift to bookkeeping mode for some of those other defaults.
I know that this is one of Erica's absolute favorite features of the new tax suite. It has a lot of possibilities, so much so that we are doing a full deep dive into this next month. But these are your organizers. The tax suite comes with an organizer for each one of the tax forms that you would be filing. But then there's also, you can create your own, customize them, have questions in here that you need answered by the client. It's kind of like a form or a survey type style. But Erica, did you want to add any more details today, or just circle back around next month for the
Yeah,
full deep
I
dive?
want to be really careful because honestly, I could take the whole hour just ranting and raving about this one and have played with it a lot. So if anybody has any questions, we're happy to kind of dig deeper in the Q&A section of this. But overarchingly, like Jody mentioned, think about this as a form. So instead of dropping individual client portal questions that can create like a big thud or a big overwhelm when our clients look in and we're like, oh dear God, 50 questions. So this is a way for them to kind of go through a form style and for you to set up those questions so that it's a really nice smooth flow for the client. Anything that you go in and the client answers will be saved, so they can go in multiple stretches if they can't go in and get all of it done, and that progress is auto saved. So really, really cool. Let me know if you want to go deeper and make sure to jump on the next one to see all the creative uses for sure.
That is our quick overview of like highlighting those key features that come with Tax Suite that you don't have access to outside of Tax Suite. The Tax Suite is free for users that have 20 or more connected clients, or you can contact Keeper and contract up to 20 connected clients. We'll let them discuss that with you. But if that's not in the cards for you, if you don't have that many clients and you don't want to contract up and pay for that many at one time, we do have some workaround options also for how can we continue to work with tax clients inside of Keeper, even if we don't have the tax suite and the features that are exclusively available there.
Exactly. So these are, be careful because these are not one-to-one parallels. We can't replicate everything that the tax suite has because they have a lot of really cool stuff and really like new stuff inside of Keeper. But if
Mhm.
that's not in the cards, we want to share how other people in the community have been kind of working tax clients in even before this tax feature or suite was rolled out.
So with that, some of the options that we'll cover quickly here is setting up multiple client projects and also utilizing those custom sections. Of course, your templates, always using those to create your tasks and make those easy to drop in. The custom properties is another great area that we can use to get some specific details for tax clients. And then, of course, our file structures. We can create a custom one there for holding those tax documents.
Exactly. So there's a couple of different options on this. We can create a different client for the tax side versus the bookkeeping side. So we'll talk about one client versus with a different section versus two clients. But sometimes this can be helpful if you have different contacts. Like, let's say on the business side, we have a bunch of different contacts. We have their VA, we have the two co-owners and that sort of thing that we're all asking questions to. But on the personal tax side, their poor wife does not want to see any or half of this chatter going back and forth. And I just need to know what you need from me to file my taxes. So this can be really helpful if you're running into some of those issues, or your different teammates are going to be assigned, or you want to keep those very separate so that it's really clear and you kind of mimic that switching back and forth between the tax side and the bookkeeping side like we can if we have that suite turned on.
And of course, our custom sections. We can create one for tax, just like we do for other services that we offer. Maybe payroll had its own section, or and then you might have one for bookkeeping. You can create one that's specific for tax. You can use your tags to specify what their filing form is. There's a lot of ways that you can get creative here with this custom and use what you've got available to you, and break it down to help keep things a little bit more separate for you.
Yeah, so this is a great example if you want to try and keep it all on the same page, but just organize any of these tasks into their own section so that your team members can move smoothly through this. So options either way, there's lots of ways to organize this on the same page, and just hide or show that tax section on any clients that need it, or hide it on the ones that you aren't going to do that for. So lots of availability here if you do want to keep it all on the same page.
And as we mentioned, those tax task templates. There's a tongue
I
twister
did
for you
that 3
today.
or 4 times this morning. So we're probably going to mess that up at least once more. I will at least.
But these task templates are great to be able to break that up. So here's the example of having one per form that you're filing, and you can have the tags on there. You can break it down for exactly what you need for those. It could be a single task with checklists. It could be multiples there. You can have the just tasks. You could have just questions combination. Lots of flexibility here, but instead of having to reinvent the wheel every time you add a tax client, utilizing these templates can really help save some time.
Exactly. And you can have those templates drop directly into that tax section if that's the one you're going to be using.
Mhm.
This is also kind of a bonus tip. I heard from multiple people that if they aren't using the tax suite, you are kind of overloading that poor client with all the questions that you're going to need to ask. So there's a lot of people that are doing their initial tax template with some general questions. Did you rent or own this year? Did you go to college? Was there any tuition? Like those sorts of kind of general questions, and then you can always create a client question only or client portal only template that has more detail. So if yes on this, then I'll drop in these couple of questions to either gather some documents that go along with that, or to ask a little bit more specific questions. So I don't throw all of it on you, especially if half of it isn't relevant or I'm not sure what's relevant. So you can always do a combination of these ideas, or do a more generalized kind of baseline template, and then create variables, or variations with more specific questions that you may need to get more info on.
And as we're collecting those documents from our client, we can use the custom folders in here, create a custom file structure for tax documents. This would be an example maybe for just a tax client. Doesn't have many other documents available. This one might be a full bookkeeping and tax client, to where you might have a more complex folder structure. But either way, whatever the files are that they're giving to you, you'll want to make sure that the portal visibility is set to visible. This way they'll be able to see and check in on have I sent them? What do I still need to send them? But this is also an available tool as you're moving back and forth.
Exactly. This is the closest way that we can replicate that default saved view. That if we turn on tax returns, then it came with that save view. We can use custom properties to get some similar information or kind of create our own. So you can absolutely, I have some examples here, but if we're trying to replicate that role or team member who's assigned on this side as opposed to the bookkeeping side, we can absolutely create a custom property for that. Or if we want to keep their engagement letter for this side separate, or even have a similar custom field for status, right? And be able to have some of those super flexible on this side too. So those properties will show up on the info card inside of that client page for reference, or we can have them shown on the client list and create kind of a tax dashboard style thing. And then I think a couple of just quick reminders before we start to wrap up this side. This is one of those seasons that we got to be really careful about communication. So if you are going to gather any kind of information outside of Keeper, it's totally fine. There's plenty of people that use a secure form or something like that. Just make check to make sure that it has the adequate confidentiality and security. That's why a lot of people will ask their questions in Keeper, because it's already a secure portal that their clients know and trust, that sort of thing. So just be careful with any forms that you want to use to replicate or simulate that organizer. This is another one that we can create any email templates if there's something specific that we want to kind of use but not have to rewrite every time to give progress updates or to request more info or to remind them to go in the client portal because I got to file your taxes here soon, that sort of thing. So set any of those up as an email template so it's really easy and you don't have to recreate the wheel from scratch. Last suggestion here is that this is a really good one if you don't already have a disclaimer or reminder on your email signature. This is a really good one to just remind clients, please do not reply to this email with secure documents or answers to your questions. Please go in the portal. And we can even make that easier by using some of those merge tags to give their specific portal link down there. But this is just a really good season to, one, prevent you from having to deal with a bunch of emails that you then have to transfer into Keeper, and to just make sure that your clients are aware, hey, this is for your own security. Please don't do this. It's a bad habit. So a couple of client communications things that are Keeper tangential that we wanted to go ahead and mention here as well.
Thanks, Erica. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the open Q&A. Feel free to drop questions into the chat. It can be about the tax suite. It can be about workarounds. It could be about any other feature within Keeper or things that you're trying to troubleshoot, need help working through. The floor is open. Let us know what questions you have. And while we're waiting for those to come through, I will go ahead and open up our demo account.
And Jody, while we're waiting, let's go ahead and go into like practice settings and show how to turn on that side if anybody does have the tax suite and they want to turn on taxes for individual clients.
Come up here to practice settings. First, we'll pop in here workflows. This is where you will see your tax return settings here, as well as your status options that we talked about. You've got your tax tracker status and your internal here as well. And then in your all client settings, you'll have that column here for tax returns that you can turn them on or off for whichever clients that you need that for.
Yep. So that's just a really easy toggle. Kind of reminds me of those Keeper receipts that we can turn it on for individual clients that we want it on, but we don't have to have it on everybody.
Yeah. quiet today.
That's all right. It's kind of a cozy, slow day. That being said, let's go ahead and show the example of the tax workaround, if you don't mind, just so we can show what that's going to look like if you are going to do it in kind of a traditional client or an unconnected client that you don't have tax on or the tax suite turned on.
So here would be that custom section. You can have all the other ones hidden. You can close your close area at the bottom. So you're just seeing the tax. And then in here, we have examples of some with some rough checklists in here to show, okay, I need to gather these things, or these are the steps that are left to be completed.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're going to create this for one, go ahead and create it in your template section as a bit of a brainstorming. That way it's really easy to roll out with any other clients that you come across that may need this either now or in the future. Honestly, I'm more of an advocate than most for, hey, use the templates for your brain dumping. Let's not mess up a client or get it make ourselves frustrated because we build it out perfectly in a client and now I have to just go copy and paste it into a template. Let's
Yeah.
use that as our brain dumping space so that it's all there and it's really easy to drop into any clients that we need to.
Just to show one client that has, we'll toggle between the pages. You guys can see that. Right up here at the top, once it finishes loading, I can just click here to go to tax returns. It's going to switch that page over. I still have my client details at the top. I still have my client portal at the top. All of that is still available. Custom tasks are here as well. But now I've got my 2024 taxes section open with all of those available subsections there.
Yeah.
And then you can
One
easily
thing to
go
note that
back to it. Mhm.
Yeah, perfect. One thing that I noticed that was really cool this morning as a little kind of like hidden gem is those custom tasks, right? We're used to those sections being able to show or hide. You can have a specific set that show and hide on the bookkeeping side, and then a different set show and hide on this tax return side. So I thought that was right. Well, obviously showing my nerdy side, but I thought that was really cool because then, Jody, actually, will you go over to that monthly side? So
Yep.
on the monthly, maybe I have general and payroll shown. And then on the other side, I can have just general shown because I'm not worried about payroll when I'm in tax mode. So really cool that those are sticky to the individual page that you're on. And one other mention that up in this top right corner, just like we have on the close side, we do have an individual due date, and then we can update the status from here. So you don't have to go all the way back to your client list and then update it. It's the same here. So a lot of these features, again, are pretty paralleled.
Mhm.
Oh, good mention here while we're still a little bit quiet. The organizers and the tracker will only work if you have the client portal 2.0. So I've heard a lot of people in the group who get all of this set up and they're like, it's not showing. How do I, what's going on? So if you're running into that issue, make sure you are on the client portal 2.0. So Jody, do you actually mind showing how to get there to update that if
Oh,
anybody isn't
sure.
sure?
Yeah. So to get the 2.0 turned on, you're going to come up to client portal. So it's your practice settings. Come into client portal and come over to branding. And here you will have that option to switch. So if you're still on a 1.0, you'll have a drop down here to select 2.0. You can toggle between them to see what the difference is between the two different versions. And then if you choose to upgrade to the 2.0, click save, and then that will save it all for you. That's right. Yeah.
Yep, perfect. And then Jody, I'm going to read the question that just popped in. Do you mind showing? Yeah, I think we're on the same page. That preview would
Yeah.
be perfect.
Yeah, I wanted to show the preview. So I went there very quickly. Let me go back. Let me back up. I came up to our portal settings. And then over here on the side, there's a preview column. So anytime you see that little eyeball, you can see exactly what that specific contact can see. So for example, the top one here does not have file access. It does not have financial access. So this preview is going to look a little different than somebody who has those details available. So this is what that person's view would be without files, without financials. And then clicking on somebody who does have files and financials turned on, you'll see the added tab there, as well as the financial reports down below. But with the 2.0 version here and tax suite turned on for this client, you're going to see a little bit more on the client portal side. So all the usual transaction and non-transaction questions, your questions for us, resources files, all of that is the same. But down below, you've got that tax return tracker available here as well.
Beautiful. Really appreciate that overview. That's a hidden gem that a lot of people don't know about,
Yeah.
but any of the portal settings here on your client page, you can go to preview. I like to do this if I'm having a client that's like, I can't find where to go, or I'm just needing to see exactly what they see so I can give the best instructions. So this can be a really helpful tool to know how to get to, regardless of what kind of processes or services you're providing.
And I've seen a lot of people record a quick video for their clients showing them, hey, this is where you go. This is what you click. This is where you can answer, submit if you need to toggle between things. So it really helps to give them that look into exactly what that client's going to see and help answer those questions and troubleshoot.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so popping into a question here. So this is a really good question, just kind of understanding the general purpose of this. So the tax suite or any of the workarounds that we talked about are more of an organizational tool to keep track of where am I in this project, what still needs to be done, what are the due dates so that I can stay on track. Who is this assigned to? So think about this as a way to organize your own workflows or processes, and then a way to have a secure portal for any uploads for statements or documents that you are going to need for your own filing, and then to be able to ask some of those client questions, again in a secure portal. So I think that's kind of big main purpose of this. Really clear though that this is not the place that you're going to file the taxes. This is not going to help on that side. This is purely organization for gathering all the bits and pieces that you're going to need internally. And currently, there is a feature request out there, but this cannot help with the e-signatures yet. Okay, so any of that approval from your client, once you get everything set up, that will be through a different software or portal or something like that at this point. So that's kind of main purpose. Jody, did that make sense? Was there anything you want to add there?
Yeah, that I think you nailed it there. I don't have anything further to add.
Okay, beautiful. Next question up. So, Rochelle hasn't moved to the 2.0. Will you need to notify your clients about the changes, or is it similar enough that they shouldn't have trouble? So, this is a really good question that we've got quite a bit. There's not any drastic changes, but the biggest difference is what that dashboard looks like. So, there are going to be some clients that get a little bit like, whoa, where am I going? What am I doing here? I think it's a little bit clearer because you have that bar that indicates action needed. So I think that that's really cool. So for those less techie clients, I would definitely recommend just to let them know, hey, works the exact same. You're going to be able to find your portal questions and respond back to me in the exact same way. Only thing that's going to be a little bit different is you'll see this action needed bar on the front that can take you directly to any open questions. So it's a really good one. I always recommend being kind of, I am one of those that is very transparent and would rather update for the sake of updating and making sure it's clear and nobody gets lost. But there is enough similarity that I don't know that any of your clients would bulk or instantly not know how to log into the portal. We'll say it that way. Jody, any thoughts on that one?
Mm-mm. No, sorry, I got a
Okay.
little distracted answering questions in the chat.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Let's actually go to that portal preview really quick.
Yeah.
Rochelle, for the if you are gonna shoot a client video, one thing you do want to be careful on is just general privacy and security. So we probably don't want to do this if we're inside of a client file. It's not going to show any sensitive information, but just for kind of peace of mind more than anything. This is a really easy one to set up in a sample client or to use your own bookkeeping business and show that portal. So that's just a way to kind of figure out where you want to shoot this from. But especially if you're using a program like Loom or something like that, you can even choose the exact area that you want to show that's just this piece and doesn't show some of the background that you're seeing on this page. So really easy to show either way, or to go ahead and add your own self as a contact and log in if you'd rather do that. But that action required bar, that yellow one, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the biggest difference here. Thanks
We
for
did
that
have
visual
a
behind.
question that came through, not visible to everyone, but they were asking if it's possible to upload an Excel or Word document containing a task list and have it automatically populate Keeper. And unfortunately, that's not an available feature yet, but I have a feeling there's a canny request out there, a feature request out there. So we'll find that. And if there's not
I'd
one,
be
we'll create
surprised
it.
if there isn't.
But if there's not, we'll create it. We'll send that out. So if people want to upvote for that feature, because I could definitely see that coming in handy to be able to just import a list of tasks and have those drop in. That would be wonderful, but not something that we have available yet.
Yeah,
We can do the
exactly. So
opposite. We can export, but we can't import right now.
yep, correct. So, really good clarification there. I'll put in a slight caveat that if anybody's struggling with that, let us know. We're happy to go in on the background and provide some hands-on support and transition anything that you have in a different system that you're moving to this tax suite, or you had a whole different form that you were asking all of your tax questions in, and now you want it in Keeper Organizer. That's something that we've been able to offer as just like a one-off tiny piece. So if you are getting up against that wall and you just don't have time or don't want to do it, which is perfectly fine. We're all not systems minded. So if there is anything we can help, just let us know.
Yeah. And not just with the tax suite, that'll be anything
True.
within Keeper.
Exactly.
We're always happy to help.
Exactly. Um, Feel free to pop any other questions in. We've got about 20 minutes just shy of. So we've got plenty of time to answer any questions, whether that is specific feature or just kind of general, like, what would you do about this? Or I'm not sure how to tackle this. Or do you have any ideas here? So feel free, anything's fair game. Jody, in the meantime, can we get a little bit nerdy and show how to create a saved view or that dashboard if anybody wants to create that?
Yeah. Happy to do that. So those save views. Now you can do this here on the client list to create a dashboard. You can also go down the rabbit hole and create them on your tasks page if you're looking for, hey, what do I just need to do today? So that's another place where saved views are available. But for your client list here to create dashboards, let's take a look at that default. It's quite overwhelming, especially if you have a lot of clients. There's so much information that is default on this page. Every section has its own column. And all of the colors pertain to how many tasks are in there that are due or overdue or not yet due. So all of this can get overwhelming very quickly, especially as you increase the number of clients that are in here. So it's nice to be able to filter this down and only see what you need to see, like what's going to be the most helpful at a given moment, and save that as a saved view. So to be able to do that, we'll come up here to this edit columns. Now the edit columns area, this isn't removing anything. This is hiding and showing. It's not turning anything on and off. It is simply hide and show. So I'll show you right here. If I were to say, I don't need to see the people who are assigned here, I can uncheck those and those columns will hide. Again, those that the roles are still turned on and those people are still assigned there. I'm just not looking at them right now. So I can hide those. If I only wanted to see the communication, maybe that's it. Let me minimize this. I don't want to see any of my sections. No, I don't need those right now, so I can hide all of those. Maybe I want to see the latest financial report, and I just want to see a general progress bar. So I've made my selections here of what I want to see, what I want to hide, and that filters this down to something that's a bit more manageable. Maybe I want to take this even further and filter by a specific status. So any of these columns that have this filter button here, you can also make edits and filter the information. So maybe I'm wanting to just see ready to publish. Click OK. Now I've got that huge list filtered down to just what I need to see. I know which ones are ready to go. And I can save this view. So you can come up, click save, save as new, name it whatever it is that you want to name it. By default, it's going to be a firm-wide view. So that means that anybody in the practice will have access to select that save view. But if it's something that you're like, nobody else really needs this, this is just for me, for my internal use as I'm working through, you can make that a private view. And that way it's only on your list and it's not going to clutter up somebody else's that doesn't need it. Once you have those, you can then toggle between them. Again, this is our demo account. It's a huge playground and we do a lot of things in here. So we do have a lot of saved views in here. Another really good example is client communication. Maybe I just want to see a quick view of my client's contacts and things that are coming up. So just a huge playground here to help filter down that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it's pertaining to tax, I think that's a really lovely overview just in general that you can show and hide different tax. Goodness gravy, I almost said tax instead of task. Exactly. I thought I was going to do that again. So you can show any task column overviews, show or hide any client portal stuff, or any of those custom properties that we were kind of talking about earlier. You can create a view just of some of those. So lots and lots of options. Again, you can save that view, like we said, so that you don't have to go make those fiddly changes every single time. Now, Rebecca, you had a really lovely question about how do you make one that I created the new default. Right now, we can't make one a default. We can't reset the default necessarily, but these are sticky. So if I'm on this page and I log out and I come back into Keeper, this is going to be the page that I come in on. So that's pretty helpful. Or if I navigate to another page, it's going to stay that same. So that does make it helpful. These are auto organized by alphabet as well. So sometimes it can be really helpful. And you saw in our demo, we had stars up at the very top to mark that as the highest one, put it very up at the top. But this works in the same way on the client list as it does the task list. So Jody mentioned that you can make save views over there. Same thing works. So that star can get it up at the top of your list. We can't reassign that default, unfortunately, at this point. Really good question.
Do we have another question come through?
Yep, we do. Give me just a second to make sure I understand.
While she's looking at that, since
Ooh.
we talked about the
Yeah, go ahead.
saved views, I just want to show, since we've created a lot of saved views, you saw in our edit columns, we have a lot of properties available. So these custom properties can really help you create these dashboards by toggling things on, by having different drop downs, all sorts of available ways of playing with information to be able to have it in a snapshot view. To set those up, you can come up to your practice settings, come to all client settings. Right here's your properties tab. This is also where if you add a new property, you can update all of your clients at one time in this screen. But right here, you can click on to manage those properties. Here you can rearrange the order in which they appear. You can edit the name or edit the property. Now, once you have the type set, that's not something that you can change, but you can edit the name here, or delete them or rearrange them. Now, if it is something that has a drop down available, let's see. I got to do that in a different place.
Yeah, if you go to the screen behind, and
Yeah,
click into that column, that's where you can adjust.
there we go. So here's edit options. So if you needed to add or remove, adjust the drop down options that you put in there, your picker, you can do that here as well. So you can create a lot of things within this space. And again, you can update that here on your client page. That's going to be in your client info card up here at the top. So all of those properties that you set up live here. And again, you can rearrange them. You can access to add all of that from here as well. But that's how we create so many different kinds of dashboards and have all the variety of columns that we do is by utilizing those properties. All right. What's our
Yeah,
question?
absolutely. And if you're curious about, hold on. So if you're curious about any of those like most common saved views that we've seen, we do have another Q&A on that. That's a full deep dive into some options there. So quick little addendum there. So our next question, really, really good one. And I think this is applicable, especially on the tax side, but a more broad question too. So if somebody is solo and looking to hire soon, like after the tax season, specifically in this question, would we recommend diving in with all 30 to 40 clients? Or dive into everything for one client and kind of test it out how it's going to work best and then roll it out. Jody, I'll let you take the first crack at this one and we'll kind of
Yeah.
bounce back and forth.
Yeah, this is an excellent question. And our typical go-to is test the system first. It's really easy to get overwhelmed, even with a couple of clients. If you're dropping in every client, that's just going to be an exponential increase in the potential for getting overwhelmed or for things getting lost or even for things getting backlogged. So when we help set up systems, we always select 2 to 5 clients as our test group. And maybe we make it a variety. Maybe it's like one really simple client, one complex client, something like that. But pick a couple that are going to give you the best picture of how does this work and what are my preferences. And doing that test round, whether you're doing one close or you do a couple of month-end close cycles with those clients, that's really going to give you an excellent picture into what you like and what you don't like, what's working, what's not working. And as you figure that out, then you can just roll it out with the rest of your clients. But that's our preferred direction on that, is to kind of do more of a slow lead into it, test it out, really get familiar with it and understand it before unleashing it on all of them.
Exactly. And I think that is especially true if you're solo right now. I think the
Yeah.
the yellow flag goes up for me of I could see a world, not guaranteeing because everybody's a little bit different. Some people are just really quick to adopt software and
Yeah.
run with it, and my brain likes it. Um, a lot of us though, I want to be careful about rolling this out, or I could see a world where if we roll it out to all of those 40 clients, then me as a solo person, I now have 10, 15, 20 times more tasks on my plate that I didn't before. And that would make it really easy for the system to get backlogged. So my overdue task list after this tax season is going to be 45 pages long or something crazy. So I definitely think that you're on the right track with starting with a handful, maybe a tougher one and an easy one, like you suggested. I think that's a really good test to kind of play around with this, but on a small scale where it's not gonna there's no chance of you drowning after this or having to go back and redo everything. If you're like, oh my gosh, I did this completely wrong. I forgot a task or, that sort of thing. And now I have to go re-roll this out or delete across multiple clients. So that's kind of the hesitancy that we have or why we end up doing tests is it's really easy to get and really excited. But then once you roll it out, it can easily become an overwhelm thing if you're starting to get used to the system and also have an overload of new tasks and client portal questions coming in and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So, hope that helps. But definitely reach out to us if you're having any struggles, any challenges, or just want somebody to brainstorm. Always happy to help in any capacity
Yeah.
on that side.
And one more thing to note is even if you are only starting out with a couple, I still recommend using those templates. So it's really easy to just get into one, build it out and be done. But then you'll have to copy and paste into a template to be able to use that later when you are wanting to build out the rest of your
Or
client list.
expand on it.
So as Erica mentioned, like this is a great playground as you're trying to figure out what do I want to include in a template, what kind of tasks do I want to have available, what are my sections going to be. Like this is a great area to play around with those and then drop them into those test clients and fine tune in both places as you go so that the template is ready to go and drop in when you're ready to bring in the rest of that client list. So definitely utilize those templates even if you only have a few clients on board.
Yeah, really great mention there, Jody. We are wrapping up on time, so let's go ahead and kind of mention any other support that we can provide or any additional resources. So we kind of alluded to this before, but we specialize in Keeper. Like that's all we do because we get so excited and nerdy about it. So there is a whole host of things across team training that we can do, second set of eyes and a diagnostic review, some templates and some help as you get it set up and being here for on-demand support all the way to I'll tell you anything locked in my brain so you have all the info, but I don't want to touch it. So anything along that spectrum is fair game, especially when it comes to getting set up or implementing a new tax side or anything like that. So all fair game. We do have some fun freebies though, because why not do free stuff too? So we do these monthly Q&As each and every month, different deep dive topic every month, and then we're open for questions on the second half. We do have a full page of freebies and PDFs and here's how to set up your client portal and stuff like that on our website, hughesandstrong.com/keeper. And then if you want to binge any previous topics that we've done or that save view Q&A like we talked about earlier, then you can always go to our YouTube channel. That's where all of these are hosted as well. So if you are one of those binge like deep divers like I am, then you're welcome to go over there.
Yeah. But thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll hang on for just a few more minutes if any other last minute questions come up. Feel free to come off of mute, ask directly or raise your hand if you need to. But otherwise, we'll give you a few minutes left or a few minutes back in your day. And thank you guys for spending some time with us today.